This is Morning Motivation for Educators on the B Podcast Network. Learn about all the shows at bpodcastnetwork.com. You'll hear from a variety of formal and informal educators who help put this podcast together. If you'd like to contribute your voice to this show, please go to morningmotivationedu.com to apply. I'm Danielle Nuhfer, an educator for over 20 years who went up against 2 bouts of serious teacher burnout before finally realizing that I needed to share what worked and what didn't with educators everywhere. This is when Teaching Well was born. At Teaching Well, I partner with schools who recognize the non-negotiable importance of fostering a school culture that prioritizes well-being, because when educators and students are well, true teaching and learning can happen. And there's nothing more integral to building this kind of school culture than finding ways to care for yourself in the midst of all the all of the school day hustle and bustle. Building in these moments is what this show is all about, and what I hope to bring to you each time I get the opportunity to speak with you here. So with that, let's begin. Today's morning motivation is about curiosity being the antidote to perfection. For a long time, I did the same plans year after year because they worked. Yes, I would tweak things here or there, but the flow of the class remained the same. The order of the novels remained the same. I did the same getting to know you activities with all my classes. The same handouts during different times of the year were absolutely similar. I did it because it worked. I had quote unquote perfected 9th grade English, and I wasn't about to let that go. I teetered on the brink every day because I wanted to get all my classes to almost all the same spots so we could do the same things. I stayed stagnant in this state of quote unquote perfection and thought I had perfected moving the entire class through what I thought was a perfect blend of activities. Until I got through a few years of teaching and my lessons hadn't changed, but my students and our world certainly had. When I realized this, I wasn't even a quarter into our time together and things just fell flat. Lessons used to be thought-provoking, just landed flat. And similarly, things I thought they should have already known were difficult for them. Does that sound familiar? As I had burrowed into the classroom, perfecting this course and materials, life had changed on the outside of this school and the 4 walls of my classroom. Students still looked the same, but there was a difference in what they knew and what they had experienced. No matter how perfect I thought my lessons were, something needed to change for the sake of all of our experiences. At first, I thought this was only, a thought, but then I started having behavior problems. Before, I used to see my class as a group to move from point A to point B, which used to work relatively well. Through a lot of painful trial and error, I realized I needed to see them absolutely as individuals, truly, not just individual people in the collective class. I really needed to honor them as individuals. Instead of staying in the comfort zone of my perfected calendars, I began to find a little bit of humility. When I got curious about what had happened throughout the 5 years I had burrowed my head in the book trying to create this perfect classroom. What had I missed? What I missed is that the students who sat before me had different life experiences and that things had changed slowly over time, but now it was clear. I realized through bringing curiosity to my classroom that I needed to shift what I was doing. I was going to find perfection through taking a curious approach to the students who were before me. I was going to scrap the lessons I taught if I couldn't make them relevant. I needed to speak to the students who were in my midst, not just the collective as the sage on the stage. My perfection almost had me leave the profession because I thought the kids were disrespectful and didn't want to learn. It turns out that they do want to learn, but I needed to approach it differently. I needed to hear their differing stories, honor their lives, find out who they really were, and create a tapestry in my classroom so that all students could understand one another. Previously, most come to school having had the same general lived experience and access to a community of facts. Now there's just so much at our fingertips that we need to find common ground first. And this can be found through cultivating the skill of curiosity. So here are a few questions to get you started. Where can you let go of the comfort of perfection and embrace curiosity? And how will this support all of the students in your classroom to model this? And where can you encourage your students to be curious? So keep this motivation close to your heart today. May you carry a lighter load when your life bubbles with curiosity, rather than being paralyzed by perfection. If this morning's motivation resonated with you, I'd love to connect more. You can find all the different ways we can partner together at teachingwell.life. Thanks for listening. In whatever role you have in education, we have a podcast for you at bpodcastnetwork.com. Who among your friends and colleagues needs to hear this message today? Please share it with them right now.